Okay, start with public comment. Sean will talk later as Upper Valley, but anything from you two?
Trails are good.
Trails are good?
Yeah.
Okay. Start on a positive note. There we go.
Yeah, write that down.
Anything to share?
Telling them myself.
Which,
Oh, now-
when you say
Now
the,
we wanna
the
know.
trails are good, what does that include? Cause we, you know, we're in town.
The good part of the trail part.
Well, which trails? You know?
Um,
So, you know, I saw.
oh,
the-
and-
the
and-
ones, but I also went up to the town forest. Is that pretty new work up there? Yeah, it's really exciting. I didn't, you know, walk the whole thing, but
Yeah, I haven't been myself.
Wikipedia Woods?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all pretty new, it seems like, right? Okay, yeah, I didn't realize it was there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And any and all.
Right, I took it as a general statement.
Yeah, well, I was just saying, like, I don't know what the trails are here.
Okay. So we have, speaking of town forest, we are due to appoint a trail steward for the Drew lot for us. Have you been on the Drew lot?
I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly, is it also off of Recreation Road?
No,
No.
it's up the road,
It's up Drew Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is, you know where it is.
I'd have to look at a map, yeah.
We have, so Elise and David are interested. They thought they were appointed and I said, no, there's a process for this. I have to, I think folks, that's what one of the responsibilities of the Trails Committee is to appoint trail stewards. And I give an opportunity, like last time we had an opportunity for the, was it Strawberry Hill? And so this time we're gonna do the Drew, so could someone appoint?
Yeah.
Elise, Gabriel and David?
Lisa and David.
Appoint or
It's
nominate.
Nominate.
Okay.
Nominate them.
Yeah. No.
I second and they're not there, so they're in.
Hearing no objection.
Anybody opposed to this? Okay. All right, so they're in, that's easy. Okay. So I'll add them to the website.
And so just curiosity, they're joint stewards.
Yeah.
So, and is there? I mean, besides David, there are no other stewards that are not part of the committee, right? Or am I mistaken?
That's
My co-steward at Strawberry Hill is not part of the committee.
How's that going?
Well, you know something, we haven't communicated between the two of us. I know that we've both been up there. I don't know how regular, Jules makes trips up there, but I've been up there a few times.
Okay,
It's all good up there.
It's
you make the rounds there too.
marvelous place.
Where did you go today?
Fine, so I walked on that this week.
Oh,
You didn't say
See?
close, said walking, so I walked.
yeah.
So
How's
you
it?
didn't check the website.
And I came home and looked to see what was on it, and I thought, how do you think everybody's gonna check the goddamn website before they
Good point.
go walk up there? I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, I need to get the signs up there if you can.
Mine's will not. now.
Sue's gonna add the one to Falls Hill tomorrow. And then I have a no motorized, once you open it up to walk in.
Did you put those up?
Not yet,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but we'll have those.
Yeah.
Those are sitting in my office,
Yeah,
looking at me,
yeah.
so.
We need a taller. We keep on adding to the.
Need a yeah, need a taller post. Yeah, you're right.
But I mean, I'll just put the trail so that.
We can do it on one side and the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. And then Sean was able to walk
Everything.
everything.
Falls Hill,
Baptist.
Orchard Trail, Orchard Road Trail. Is it called Orchard Road Trail or Orchard Trail?
Orchard
Either one.
No,
Road.
the Crossroad and then Baptist.
Okay.
So really, that's all, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then just, so giving my, opinions on what
Yeah.
to do, really just get the deterioration under control. There's always a lot more you could do, and as far as development goes, but mainly what I focused on. Yeah, so I put
Pushed it.
together small brief documents that sort of talked about what I thought it would be and gave our estimates as to how much we personally would cost, but you could obviously do it too, right? Decide. Yeah, so I can start with Falls Hill, I guess. Falls Hill is actually in good shape. Did somebody do a lot of work on the approach up? Not too long ago.
It was
No, it was a
recently logged.
logger.
Yeah, but
and
they
that
have
did-
good, water bars. It's really steep. There's nothing you can really do about that,
No.
but it's actually in
Yeah.
good shape for what it is. You could always smooth it with an excavator, but I need to right now. Might be almost too inviting for machinery anyway. And so largely what I saw was the stuff at the very top, or where it technically ends, with all the drainage issues. Up at the top, which I don't know if people have been there. It's up this sign at the top. It says, not the greatest picture, but
You see this, Kevin?
it's where it goes to
Yep.
to vast trails. And there are some pretty serious drainage issues happening there. Where what's really happened on a lot of these roads, and it happens on many of the old roads, is where old streams will become the roadbed and they'll start to create a divot, and over time it will turn into a large stream itself. Falls Hill probably needs the least work. You could probably take care of most of it in a day with like a group of volunteers and put in a few water bars and then fill in the old drains. And all you're doing is redirecting the water to go across, because what's happening is it's getting channelized. The main,
So that's all coming down the snowmobile trail?
that is a question I had, is actually a lot of that work is actually happening, or a lot of the issue is happening
Beyond the side.
beyond what I assume the town's land is.
Yeah.
And then, so you have a drain that starts 100 feet up, and there's some of it's ledge too, that you can't really do a whole lot with, but there are certain places where you just take it off that cliff on the right if you're going up. So it's really, that's just like one day of drainage work. It's pretty easy to take care of. And then you would just fill in the,
Oh, yeah.
the erosion drains, and that should be in pretty good shape, and that'll keep it from continuing on down the trail and ultimately causing more. But the steep spots are actually in really good shape because they create pretty good, great dips that shed it well. Yeah, it's gonna continue to what's called slough, which is where the low side will get lower just from erosion, but every now and then you go and fix it,
Is the water bars you're talking about?
well, the whole trail, I mean, since it's so steep there, they've cross-sectioned it, they
Okay.
side hilled it. And it's so steep that over time, it's eventually gonna slide down on the low side, but it's still in decent shape, particularly for what it's needed for now.
What do
Really,
you-
Falls Hill is in good shape.
What do you mean by side hill?
It's where you, bench cut is another word, where you basically dig into the hillside to create a flat area.
And that's the water bar?
Well, the water bar is,
Oh, I'm sorry.
is a perpendicular structure, yeah, so the
So
bench cut is
flat-
just one.
Flat, not flat, but.
Right, so if you have a steep trail that's going up,
Level.
you have
Yeah.
to cut into the hill, and scrape that triangle of material out, and
Right,
that creates the roadbed on a steep area.
right.
But over time, it will just become a stream if you don't get the water off of it, so you put in these sort of 65-degree angled flow spots, which catch the water, it's a drain,
Yeah.
it's a fancy word for a drain,
Yeah.
basically. Water bar is an armored one typically, either with a rock or, it's called a grade dip if it's not made of anything, and a water bar is at least the terminology I use. So there's a couple ones I'll talk about later that should probably be actual like water bars, because they'll just get blown out by use.
So you wouldn't be taking any off that bank?
Oh, I wouldn't do anything really on the steep spot now. I
Yeah.
would just, all you do is redirect the water at the very top, where it starts to, well, it's not really flattened out, but it's not the super steep. It's where you meet the vast trails. That's where all the drainage issues come on Falls Hill, anyway. And, you know, what I had said, it's in those documents. I don't know how to share those.
I'm sharing these right now
Yeah.
live with Kevin.
Yeah, good.
So it's being recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so those. Yeah, it's just one day of work with a volunteer crew to take care of that. Pretty quick fix, actually.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you, so what you say one day I work with a volunteer.
With a volunteer group, so
and
I put them in
how
here.
big a group?
Well, so. Good question. So the ones, you know, when I have a day of work, I put it at 500 because we have our Upper Valley Trail, high school trail corps is what we price it 500. That's not always available, but to have two of myself and another UVTA staff member to come out and lead a volunteer day is essentially the same amount of work. That can either be your volunteers or ours or a combination, which it typically is. And it's a crew of about 10. You could probably do it with less there, but that's what we're anticipate when I have that number in there. And that's so when that 500 number is a day's work with 10 people.
Yeah. And two.
Yeah, two staff, right? And then you assume the other 8 are not paid to keep the cost down.
Yep.
Okay, so there's that one. And the other one we talked about, or we haven't talked about yet, was Baptist Hill. I parked at the Sporn Drive side, walked in. And I walked the section until there's a line up where the actual trail, I think, is closed off on that Chevrier's property. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so it's closed there and it's grown up. That could be cleared out with a, if that section can be used again. You just clear that out with a chainsaw. It wouldn't take that long. I mean, it's obviously overgrown, hasn't been used in a long time, but there's no damage to it really. It doesn't take anything more than just clearing it out. But the main issue of that trail is on the first half of it. There's some pretty serious drainage streams forming, which you'll see in a lot of places. There's one of the pictures of it. There's some other ones too, but so that's also a little more substantial drainage work. Probably 3 or 4 water bars and redirection of the drainage. So essentially what's happening is you have this old roadbed that is 2 feet depressed into the ground and is the right of way. So you can't move it off that. And so what has happened is it's channelized and it is slowly turning into a stream. As much as possible, you want to mitigate that by getting the water off, but there's a couple places where I'm not sure that's super possible. So what you would do is keep that drain where it is. Sometimes you see an old road, there's like a drain or a dip that's been dug into the side. Over time, the water's kind of already doing that. You just kind of got to coax it the way you really want it to go. A lot of times it's just getting it off completely to the downhill side. And when you can't do that, channelize it into one side of the road. It's not actually that much earthwork here. I don't think we'd really have to dig out a whole lot. You're just kind of sculpting what you want the trail to do.
So is this section on the Dodge farm or not? Do we know? Anybody know?
That
I don't know.
section's not.
The worst is.
Only it's the
Yeah, I know.
show the picture of the fence.
It's for some reason mine didn't print it all, but here's a better one. Here's a digital map. It might work better. If you know the area. So here's Sporn. It's the worst of it's here. Pretty close to Sporn
Okay.
or to
Astro goes over
Strata.
And that
gate-
part's not,
Oh, the gates.
Yeah, and this is the other bridge, I believe.
And it's a gate where it crosses onto the Dodge farm.
right,
Yeah, that's what I assume. And then there's the trail actually is going this way currently.
That's
that's the
Yeah,
snowmobile
into the
trail.
field.
So the work is actually on the Bass Trail
No. But
as it enters from Sporn.
are you asking if it's on the
I
Bass
think
Trail?
it is on the Bass.
That's
Is this not?
portion is used by Vast. That's
Oh,
part of
oh,
the
I said
snowmobile
turn.
trail,
Oh, okay, but it is still part of.
But it's still
Back
back to
to-
Hill Road.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
right?
Right, and I would assume they don't care that much because it just fills with snow. And it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
so,
it freezes.
yeah, exactly, and it's not so deep that it causes any issue other than that, so I imagine they probably don't even notice.
Yeah.
It probably just fills with drifts and might be even good, so anyway,
The
Um,
landowner has been of more concern to me because
yeah.
he has a sugar bush up through there and,
That's,
you know, needs to access that some of the time when it's not snow.
yeah,
Oh.
So
Could that
what,
be
so what,
contributing to the erosion?
I don't know for sure. I think what initiated that was there was a culvert in there previously that I think failed and they just pulled it out
Hmm.
and it started to run down the road.
Okay, yeah. Again.
The culvert's still off on one side of the road.
Yeah, is it the first spot? I don't know how well you can tell. This is the first thing you see as you're coming in from Stratford Road?
Right.
This?
Yeah, and it starts way up at
Yeah,
the head of the
exactly.
one
Yeah,
that's
it's
going
about
down the
1,000
middle of
feet
the
up. So
road.
it's really 1,000-foot section, which you don't have to work all of it. I mean, some of it's just it's actually okay if it's on a drain on one side, but you still want a road bed to walk on the other, at least how I think of it.
Yeah.
And it'd be, I think, 3 water bars and some drainage work just to get the wetness in the right place. And really what you want to do is you want to get it off the trail if possible.
does that culvert need to be redone or?
It might be able to be done with a water bar.
Yeah, didn't even consider culverts just because of the, permissions required to go
If you
through.
look at minor maintenance.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And you have to cover it over. And it's, a culvert is nice if you're driving over it, but you don't necessarily need
Right.
it if you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so anyway, so that one was, I don't know, I don't know that you need any structures other than, you maybe want to bring in, normally I just use a tree.
Yeah.
Or rocks even, or just make a grade dip. It's not very steep there, so it's you might not really need anything to build a water bar. You might just be able to put a dip in and divert the water, but it takes a lot of handwork, which you can do by hand. You don't need a machine or anything.
Okay.
And that's, these are sort of the minor fixes. You can go way more elaborate, but they would take more money. And, you might run into permitting issues with displacement of soil.
Yeah.
Which I don't imagine any of these would, because you're really just diverting the water a little bit.
Yeah.
It shouldn't trigger any of the thresholds, I wouldn't think. Yeah, so that one's like 2 days is what I thought. Yeah, and then, the clearing's kind of a separate thing. It's neither nor there. I don't know exactly how long that would take, but probably not that long. Okay, so those are those two, and should I touch on
Yeah.
the Crossroad and Orchard Trail again?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so
Sorry, so but the segment of Baptist Hill that runs through the Dodge farm,
Yes.
other than being overgrown, it's in reasonable shape?
I thought so, yeah, I didn't see any major drainage issues.
Yeah.
And that's really the only thing.
Okay.
What, doesn't it go down where the brook is now? By the pond? From the Dodge Farm side?
I didn't walk down from the top, I'm gonna be honest, I turned.
I mean, that's the place
Wondering,
that you can't fix.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
wondering
to be
if
honest,
you
I'm
actually followed the snowmobile trail rather than,
I'm not super comfortable. Let's go with somebody.
The trail is on his land, is it not?
it is,
But
but
it-
I'm
but it
wondering if
goes-
he followed that would make sense to me that it's dry. The portion that goes up through the Dodge
Right, I
farm
was not.
is extremely
I'll put it
wet.
that way.
Once you hit the fence, you didn't go any.
I didn't want to cross it. I looked around and you can see most.
But he
of
made
what's
it to the
up there.
fence, right?
So, yes, I didn't look at the very top. Not
Yeah, I
comfortable going
believe,
over there without being able to say those exact.
I'm not sure.
think the
where-
fence, I think the fence, so the snowmobile trail goes
Yeah.
up here.
Before it gets to the fence or at the fence or.
I think it would be worth,
Looking.
yeah,
Uh,
especially, you may want to update this. Because what you say right now is substantial cleaning and brushing is needed to open the trail again. There might be some water issues as you get closer to.
Okay.
Closer or Orchard.
Yeah, I mean, I can just put a
Mike,
note.
Mike
in
is
that.
fun.
Yeah.
Why is like a raging brook there?
Yeah, it's
But I would,
got
if you can
nowhere to
organize
go up
with
through there.
Rudy and Thornton maybe,
Okay,
cause it,
I mean, really, it's just one person that just wants to go with me and be
yeah,
the person that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
As far as where I'm supposed to
yeah,
go,
Yeah.
and what I'm supposed to do, cause like crossing a fence. That's electrified. It's
Standing in the water.
All along the side.
But, you know, but it's otherwise,
Is there actually a fence across it?
it's a gate, it's movable. Yeah,
that was
it's-
requested.
Yeah, it is.
So it was
It's-
approved as a pet road?
It was.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I think it was in 22.
Just checking.
Yeah, so I shouldn't say it's a fence, it's a gate. It is with the handle that can be removed, like it is, you know, it's able to be.
That was, yeah, that specific.
Yeah.
Was requested by the select board to make sure it was in place.
Yeah, and you can see, it's a line, so you can see pretty obviously where the trail goes. I just didn't go all the way up to the house.
Yeah.
So my understanding though is that I mean, John has talked extensively about how he hosts the snowmobile trail. So the snowmobile trail must stay on Baptist Hill until it crosses into his property
Yes,
and then turn off, then
Yes.
separate.
think the
I
bridge-
believe his property is down around here, just before this bridge. There's another bridge
I see.
at the edge of the woods there, and I believe his property's
Do you think
just
the
above
boundary,
that.
boundary's down here?
But the
Believe
snowmobile
is at
trail
the
doesn't
curve.
diverge until up on this field.
Got it, okay.
And then it goes up. So it leaves Baptist Hill.
That's
at
cross
that
goes
point.
over towards O'Brien's, right?
Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
connects up with Orchard, LT3.
Yeah, crosses.
Yeah, it crosses over. So I'm confused, I'm trying to think about where the gate is relative to where.
I'm
relative to where the
trying
trail
to
goes
place
up,
it
I
as
mean,
well.
Right
I
there.
would think,
It's right, it turns right there and then there's a bridge and I don't know if you've been there, and then it emerges into the field.
and
if
then,
you-
so the bridge is that's the vast trail.
So it sounds like the gate is right where the vast
It
trail
would make
departs-
sense, I mean,
Departs.
I think that's right.
yeah,
And I assume that links right up with the Orchard Road side, right?
Yeah, Baptist Hill intersects
Well-
Orchard.
Well, the reroute section. Does it?
well, the reroute crosses it.
Okay.
Yeah, the vast trail
Yeah.
basically goes across at that point, it's like 90-degree angle.
Yep.
Or across the Orchard Trail.
Okay.
And only a couple 100 feet up from the actual
Beginning,
intersection of the trail, or the beginning of Orchard, yeah.
you can see it if you walk, did you walk from his house out?
Who?
John, O'Brien, John,
No, I parked on Stratford Road.
Ah.
Walked down, but I've walked
Where
from
you
the
walk?
other
I mean,
side.
could you really
On-
see what
on
that
Orchard.
trail passes to be open?
That was for them. Yeah,
Yeah, crosses the brook and then takes a hard right.
That's the vast trail.
is the Bass Trail, I don't know, is it permitted to be walked? No. right?
It's really
No.
for that purpose, yeah.
That's
For snowmobiling.
Technically, no.
Yes, okay. Some sections they allow it, or, I don't know.
Yeah, it's negotiated with, Vast negotiates each with the landowners, so it
But
depends on
they
their
negotiate
permission.
snowmobiles, not.
Exactly, yeah.
So
And
It doesn't mean you can, it.
Well, yeah, they have some sections where it's like, you're allowed to walk here, but generally not, so.
Yeah, there's signs up where they'll say, be careful, there's multi-use, like cross-country skiers and snowshoers, I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean. we
It's
can
actually on the trail.
Yeah.
So it says to go slow.
Okay, I can, set a time to go look at that. Whenever. Yeah, we can touch base.
Just that one section, just given your recommendation, you may want. Cause right now all he's saying is,
Yeah, I mean, yes. I wasn't sure how
Brush.
much we wanted to
Substantial clearing and brush was
comment
needed.
on that side. Yeah, that's true, because I do mention it. I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So, and then Orchard Road. on The other side. We had talked about that before. I settled on 2 bridges. And
This is starting which end of Orchard Road and going
this would be from Moody.
from O'Brien, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
close to, oh, here.
The spots
Yeah.
here.
So you're going up the hill from O'Brien's.
Yeah, and there's a drainage, which isn't as wet, but it's pretty deep. Have one 16-foot bridge in there is what I recommended. And then there is a more of a stream and some drainage issues further up, which is probably, if you walked it, what is probably more memorable. And that's about, you could span it with a 20-foot bridge, and there's some drainage work above that, and you would do that at the same time as you're putting the bridge in. I hope. And if you couldn't, it's fine, you divert the water to go above the bridge and around, but hopefully you can put it on the left side, if that makes sense. But one of those 2 is what you would do. And you could do that in 2 days, and I have a budget up for.
No, when you say the left side, you're looking uphill?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully, you have to
Okay,
finesse.
so this is all on O'Brien's.
The left side of where the trail used to be.
Right,
Yeah.
the road, yeah.
Yeah, the road.
And in that section, if, I'll just clarify again, just to make sure. It's okay to stay out of the gully. Yeah, the
Yeah.
current route
Yeah.
that goes to the right is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, whereas for the final one, the crossroad, it was not the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've that one written up, that one you can do in 2 days as well. And part of this would be deciding what you want to do, like, going over one bridge, it's just the one bridge cost in one day, basically. You want to do other bridges, that's cool.
So what's the impact of having the bridge on the ability to run a farm tractor?
Yeah, you put it to the side.
Okay.
And hopefully, well, not hopefully, it wouldn't impact it at all.
Okay,
Hopefully they put it back.
Yeah, well, you put it in a way that I don't even think it would be in the way. It's
Okay.
wide enough there. I don't think
Okay.
it's a problem.
Oh, I see. what
I
you're
think
saying.
when he says put it to the side, place it to the side.
Not the tractor.
It's a good
you
question.
have to move it each time you want to go by.
I don't know how much that area floods. My hunch is probably doesn't go much over the banks. It's pretty steep there, but this bridge, since it's just setting on 6x6s, and you might anchor it, you could put some rebar on it, probably would. It just lifts off and moves. So if it does get flooded out, then pretty easy to put back, which is nice. Rather than anchoring it and having it immovable and splinter if a flood comes through.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
all right.
And the bridge, so you said it's like sitting on a 6x6.
Yeah.
And then. Is it actually spanning the 16 feet, or are they, or is it on with progressive
There's
series?
just a simple one.
I see.
Yeah.
So that's an example.
Yeah. I'll watch that one. Same folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
How wide are those?
Yeah, how I.
It varies, however wide you want to make them, that, I think I have those as 4, but however wide
Yeah.
you want to do. 3. Probably wouldn't go much. People.
4 is nice. If you think about like somebody who's walking the whole dog on a leash potentially.
Yeah, and the cost is not that different.
Right.
Really. Yeah, because a lot of it's in the PT anyway, it's just rough cut and block.
Especially if we get the Bethel Mills price.
Yeah.
Which location? Okay, and so the crossroad, that one needs the most work. That one, I went and looked at it again. And so the old roadbed, what is technically the town's, is not really used anymore. People clearly go to the, I don't even know, if you're going downhill, it's to the right, if you're going up level. And I do think you can open up the road, the existing roadbed again. You're never gonna get it very wide without doing really substantial work to it, which I think will, you can do. You could dig a big trench all the way down one side and widen it to 4 or 5 feet with a machine. That'll trigger probably, environmental permitting. But if you wanted to get a quicker, easier fix, you could just tread a trail in, basically dig a tread about 2, 3, 4 feet wide.
This is doing a step into the side of the
Exactly,
gully.
yeah, so, this is looking up it.
Yep.
And the nice thing is it's mostly the drain, there's maybe one spot for about 20 feet that kind of hops over, but the drain is almost always on one side. So you just thread in a nice walking surface down the majority of that, do a little bit of finagling the drain. You actually kind of want it to not be just a straight line because it slows it down and it doesn't dislodge the soil and whatnot. Although below it is actually, it's not really running into anything major, but less soil displacement that way. And, but the question is, are people comfortable with there's 1 or 2 places where it would probably get down to about the width of this table of the tread, and it wouldn't be, but everything else could be a little wider than that probably. So if you could imagine a surface of the tread about this wide, maybe even a tiny bit less in certain places, if that's okay.
So is the water going through there all runoff along the length of where the gully is, or is there water coming from further above that can be diverted off that would help reduce the
It will help a little bit,
Well,
but
washout?
I have some better pictures too. This is actually.
There are a couple smaller drainages that come
Yeah,
in.
a little bit, you
to
can't
it.
get rid of all of it. Most of it's
Yeah.
little streams that enter the gully, and since the gully is 6 feet high, there's no way to get
No way
out.
out.
You have to dig out 20 dump trucks worth of material just to get it out. There is up above, that's something I have in there too. I actually have 4 little bridges in here. That's a question, because there's actually 4 crossings. The top 2 on the way are very easy to step over and are very optional. Like you wouldn't necessarily need that, but if somebody wanted to make a little footbridge, you could get across those. And then down at the lowest part of the trail, that one I do think needs about 20 feet of bridging. Cause I would do a little bit of drainage. I wouldn't divert it too much, but I think you can make it smaller because currently it's about 30 feet wide. If you've been down there recently, there's all the water kind of comes together in that gully and makes its own stream, and then that has an outlet, and then there's about 5 feet, and then there's another 20 or 30 feet of wet. And that I think you can channel down into being much smaller because it's kind of just going everywhere because it doesn't really know where it's going because it flattens out. But anyway, I think you need 2 bridges there probably, unless you really wanted to have step overs, which you could, but yeah, so I put in there, the budget for a little bridge too, really, so, I have, I think. Oh, yeah, so I have it too, so really it's, yeah, it'd be 469. For the low bridges and then another 469 for the upper. That's the material price. And then, but anyway, substantial manpower, human power to tread that trail back in there. Go through with chainsaws, take the fallen trees out, that's easy. And then do a little bit of drainage work in the ravine, in the gully, and a little bit of drainage work at the bottom. But really, actually, the drainage work is less drainage work than probably falls or Baptist Hill. So it's pretty much where it's gonna go. There's not, there's a little bit of nagling, but you don't have to do a ton really.
It's done the work for you.
Unfortunately, it's there. So yeah, you can't get it out of the gully. Most of it. The upper 2, it's already going where it was. If you've been in there, it's sort of saturated everything around it. A little bit of it's going down the trail, but most of it's going across the road.
Is the source sort of right at the top of the trail, or is it
No,
cumulative?
it's a series of seeds
just-
and little
yeah.
drains. It's like 6 or 7 different ones.
Yeah.
It would be nice if it was one, and even if it was one coming from one place, then you start to think about, okay, well, is it worth it just to make a huge?
Find a way to divert that.
Yeah, to actually like cut 6
Right.
feet down and try to get it out of there, but it's a bunch of seeds.
Oh.
I mean, the issue is it's just a 300-year-old road, right? That's 250, I guess. That's just 6 feet lower than everything below it.
Right.
So any water that falls into it can't get out for that 1,000 feet or so.
And even outside that road on the field side off to the west side,
Hmm.
the water's probably that deep from mid sugaring season till the end. There's just a lot of water in there.
Yeah, so any questions?
So with this, there'd still be ongoing erosion, right?
Yes, you would, although, I mean, sure, you would. I mean, it's always gonna erode more and more, but then it's at least channelized. It's got a place where it's already going.
Right.
And then hopefully it wouldn't cut into the tread you already have. You're using the areas that haven't been eroded.
Right.
You could reinforce the inside a little bit with a couple rocks. In fact, that's what we tend to do.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I would recommend, at least for this type of a project, not to alter the drain too much, because it is kind of meandering somewhat.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a lot of, you can tell, I mean, there's some silt down there, but it's not super silty. It's not like it's running, bright brown when it rains really hard. It's turning into a stream, that it should be somewhat stable.
All that stuff's gone already,
Right, exactly, yeah.
for better or worse.
So it will continue to erode that roadbed.
Yeah.
Until it gets to the bedrock, but it's already counted.
So you mentioned the materials cost for the bridges, but what was the time estimate for the?
Oh, yeah,
cross road?
that one's, I had that one at 4 days. It's a lot more work. But, it's one of those two that, it's really whatever can be raised and you can just not finish it. But that I estimated to do 4 bridges. Although even if you probably weren't doing all 4 bridges, it would still be 4 days, because it's mostly spent on that tread work by hand. And a little bit of the drainage. So yeah, I have 4 days.
And you're assuming sort of similar size crew again, like.
Yeah, that's the 500 a day is a 10-person for 7 hours. That's, when you have a mobilization, they were saying 9 to work.
And weren't there some issues up at the end by Deb Mullins where people were not going on the trail or on the right of way, or is that this area down in the gully where people are walking up on the?
She had
Oh,
some work
Lord.
done up there that has helped that.
That's helped, okay.
She cleared some of the brush
Okay.
on the trail so
Oh,
that people aren't as tempted to trespass.
okay.
Maybe you should share with me over the phone what it was like to show up at the trails.
Oh, yeah,
And
so,
yeah,
but that's very contentious, right? So it's not super obvious where to park, or, to where to go is a little better. I mean, it could always be better, because there are pretty good signs, actually, I think. Can't think if there's anywhere that didn't have a sign. They all have signs, right?
no, sorry.
Yeah, so that's obvious.
That's the start and the finish.
Yeah, that's obvious. I mean, there are a couple places where it's like, I'm assuming it's straight, it kind of looks similar, whereas there's obviously cattle roads and a number of things off the side, but it's the parking and really the access, because I looked around, I couldn't find anything that was like park here.
Yeah.
Which I think you said was intentional, right? You don't want to say park that sort of thing. And then, I talked to you about it and I just parked it right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not super obvious where to go. Falls Hill obviously is, that one's obvious.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
Those can be scooted back. It's hard to do, obviously. I don't know how much thought was put into that area, like that parking area, if that's meant to be a parking area exactly.
I don't think too many people use that. trail.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I assume. These are mostly
It's
masons
just a,
and people that
little
already know
training
the
hill.
system. So like, there might not be a ton of
Training hill.
Yeah, it can be really contentious.
Yeah.
We work in a lot of towns that even maintenance tends to be fine, but once you say, oh, we're gonna put it in a parking spot, people are like, what? Really? Why? Like, it's hard to access.
If we had a map on, we would say no parking or parking, depending on the situation.
Oh, okay, yeah, and so even just a quick note that says, just park on the right of way. Yeah, because that one is next to a house
Yeah.
and it's their driveway.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of, was unsure if I should even use their driveway to turn around because it's a lollipop, right?
Yeah.
So there's that one, that's the crossroad. I didn't go to the other stuff. The Stratford Road section of Baptist Hill is actually fine. That was a really easy one too. Yeah, and Orchard as well. But that one's a little more obvious too, kind of, but it's still kind of ambiguous because you're near the homes and
Right.
it's not clear. It's not, there's not like a parking sign.
Space there, but.
Yeah.
There is a sign that says park here at the wedding.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Well, for the wedding.
Yeah.
That's where I park.
Wedding practice.
Stop in at the reception. Way.
That walk orchard. I see a lot of them park on the beginning of the road going towards John's.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
by
yeah,
the
they
meadow.
do. Yeah.
The walking group got permission from Ron Karen and we park.
Yeah.
In front of his barn, and he gives us
Yeah.
permission.
Yeah, that's his, if you were to choose a spot, that's the spot.
Yeah, so I guess Crossroad is really the only.
Near the Stratford Road,
Yeah, I mean,
where
they
that
just,
tree, that
Yeah.
big tree is.
they just park it on the meadow and.
If they
And
want to
there's
go
people there
to,
all
there's
the
large
time.
groups that want to go to White Rock. I think that's where he suggested
Yeah,
park.
so I guess it's really only Crossroad. That's the one that's kind of
Yeah.
ambiguous.
Yeah.
On that. I don't know, is the other side more obvious?
Other one's better,
Oh,
honestly.
is it? Okay,
Yeah,
maybe I should've-
the other side is better. I think there's a nice little pull off.
Yeah, I didn't go. That's-
But
I didn't
you
walk
feel
over
like
there, but I
you're-
didn't-
Yeah, I have to look at it, but
And the rest of Orchard Road.
Yeah.
Is in pretty good shape, isn't it?
Yeah, there is, I actually, in one of the initial documents, there's a little dip, it's around the corner. If that means anything,
Yeah,
where
you
it-
go up and where it turns off to turn.
yeah, it turns left, and then there's a little bit of a dip, it was dry, I could put something there, but I think
No, we try this.
it's a
time of
tenth
year.
of the priority of anything else, it
Yep.
seemed fine, it's more a matter of. If it gets wet, I didn't see it the standard.
So all the work is. I guess question, is all the work that's proposed on property where the landowners are
Minimum,
supportive?
good question.
Yep.
What's Falls Hill?
No, Falls Hill,
Yeah,
it's not.
it's not.
They're not supportive. But was there any work proposed on Falls? Oh, at the top.
Up the top,
Yeah.
and it's.
Money where.
it might be in their best interest.
I didn't walk all, I have.
Maybe think of it
Just in terms of.
all the way over
That's
on
right.
Cal's land before you hit that mud. and
Oh,
stuff.
that
Maybe some
is
of the
very
parts,
funny, yeah.
But that's not part of the
That's not the trail,
trail.
right?
If they used
But you
it, I
tell
would
what
think
he was
they
talking about.
would,
So,
because it's
so,
not invasive.
so the Falls Hill Trail work is actually not on the trail. It's on, I don't know if that's having wasteland or if it's. Does it sounds like it's on the snowmobile trail before or after, depending which way you're
A
going.
bit of it, potentially, it does the property end right where the sign is?
No.
No, but that's where the right
The
of way
road
is.
ends, yeah.
The right of way is where this.
Yeah,
His
so,
land goes all the way over and we've even told them about trucks that they really did a mess that year we caught them.
Yeah,
You know,
Oh, I see
in
what
the
you're saying.
mud, but that's probably what you're talking about, it's as you're going back down.
yeah,
And it is the
some of the
snowmobile.
issues are being caused further up. It's
Yeah.
coming into the trail, so that technically is probably off the right of way anyway. But there is some, and really, if you wanna keep it from. I don't know, I'd have to look at it again, see if it would actually join and continue down that really steep section, but you just wanna you wanna put something in there, so it doesn't keep eating away the road. There's a big cliff there, so if you get it off to the cliffside, fine, the water just goes down. And so that's on the right of way, I would think. Unless it's way before the sign. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so to answer the question, so there's that one, and there's the Baptist Hill side, I think, yes, right? They'd be supportive.
You know them, right?
You were mentioning.
I know who they are. I don't honestly know. I've never had that conversation. I think they would be supportive, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
Really never had the conversation.
You could talk to Bass, they would know the temperature.
Yep.
They know the temperature of all of us.
Yeah. And then Orchard, I think is, right, that work, the bridge work, right?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
John's been O'Brien's been kind of silent in a lot of the discussions, so I don't know if anybody knows.
The comment was more about the ability to get a tractor
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, and he seemed, yeah, and then the crossroad, I don't know how they are, if whose land that really is, further down, where the gully is.
Yeah, look, I'll look into that.
It's either Mullins or,
I've talked to Deb. I told her what you were looking at.
Yeah, I think it is down that far.
And I've never seen anybody there,
Yeah.
I don't, I've been there during the day, I haven't seen anybody.
Yeah.
Nearby, I would have said hi.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I can update the Baptist Hill for the top part of it.
Yep.
And other than that, yeah, and I'll just keep updating those documents. I have a few more pictures I'll put at the end of it too.
Yep.
Kind of get some context, maybe some notes on the pictures.
I'll post this to the website and then we'll update it as you update them.
Yeah, sure.
so the selectmen, I think, asked for an update.
Yeah.
Is there a recommendation to them or?
I think, I don't think the Trails Committee will be recommending anything beyond, hey, you hired this group to take a look. Here is his report out. It's your call. So,
Is it easier to have these in 4 separate documents or what?
4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what's the best way then to cause some kind of a decision one way or another to do something or not do something? Is these 10 things?
So it's either gonna come from us to be on the agenda and say, hey, we work closely with Sean and his crew. This is the written recommendation, or it's gonna come from other advocates. So I think given that we have trail stewards who are looking after each trail, I think it's better to have that conversation come through this group. So, because then we'll see it through. So, or not,
So-
depending on
right,
what they
right.
decide.
So it seems like part of the question is, are we making a recommendation that we explore, fund, follow the prescription, let's say, right?
I don't know if it's needed for us to recommend, right? I think
Who would if
we
we don't?
what's that?
Who would if we don't?
They've hired, we've paid for this membership, and it's what Sean has provided for guidance. That came from the select
So-
board.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So should I report
So-
to them? Is that where you're
Yeah,
saying?
so I was thinking the next step is. So Mariah let me know that there was interest in an update,
Okay, yeah,
so I think we just get an update. We'll send the documents ahead of time,
yeah.
and then if it gets on the agenda, we'll see if you can attend, and
Yeah,
then it's fully in the select board's
Is
court.
there maybe a touchy question, but any sort of timeline for resolving the ongoing legal
And-
stuff?
They may decide, as they've done before, to wait.
For that reason.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, but this-
Well, I meant like at the district level, state level?
It is in the Superior Court at this point, and it went under advisement it was given to the judge on March 3rd.
Okay.
So it's been under advisement for a month and a half now, so it's hard for me to imagine it would be a lot longer, but
Okay,
I,
so there'd be
it
some.
was also
sort
hard
of-
for me to imagine that it was gonna take this long.
Right, sure.
But
So,
at the same time, none of the work is on, proposed work is on the Dodge Farm. So it's really,
Or
the
mentioned,
decision shouldn't be influenced by that.
Well, there's maintenance happening, right? With or without the select board on legal trails in Tunbridge, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, it should be.
yeah, like Deb's been hiring someone to remove trees and you could see the impact on the crossroad. No, it doesn't mean we've opened it,
yeah.
but what you're proposing is a chance to open it to at least walk in. you know?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Yeah, and you know, there's some that are less contentious than others, obviously.
Yeah.
Like the crossroad sounds like people are excited, and that would take care of an issue, which is it currently being on the trail or people going where they're.
Yeah,
not supposed to,
trespassing,
you know,
yeah.
So it's actually taken care of.
yeah, that's my sense is that the landowner would be happy to stop trespassing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I see why, because
I trespassed when I was.
even
on
I, on the way back, was.
Yeah.
I bypassed.
it. I took Peter on it, we
Yeah.
trespassed.
Cause it's, you know, it's, you can do it, you have to hop over a bunch of stuff and. Weather down there. And I'm like, yeah,
So-
no, that's great. So, yeah, just take a look at that upper, whatever you call it, Baptist Hill section.
Great,
And all I've seen here.
awesome.
So the total to do everything feels like $5,000.
Yeah. It depends on what the materials are. So it's, let's see, 4 days on Crossroad, that's 2. 2 days on Orchard, that's 3, and then 2 and 1, so that's 25.
And are there options to provide volunteers or is that? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
There's the-
that's, I mean, usually do a volunteer day, that's just the placeholder we put in.
yeah.
It could actually be less than that, so, you know, I'm 40 an hour.
Yeah.
If, you know, a partner wants to, you know, be like, yeah, you all just do it. Then, you know, typically our volunteer days would have 2 staff for
Yeah.
6 hours.
Okay.
But if we could do 1 staff person and then work with a bunch of people in the community
Yeah.
and our own volunteers too. And then it'd be less, you know, that's just kind of the placeholder for planning that we tell people is that like, if we're a work day that we organize with like the whole shebang is 500.
So the more volunteers we can grow up in town, the less it will cost us.
Yeah, yeah. And you would, so some of this,
Or at least the more we get it done for the same cost.
right, I mean, like the crossroad, I
Yeah.
can take a group out. They really motivated and say, this is what we're doing, and then. They could do a lot of it, you know.
There's a man that lives on Forsyth Road, and he has equipment that could do all of this very quickly.
Yes, that it gets,
And he probably would volunteer.
yeah, so that's where it gets a little more. Permitted dicey, it is,
Even
it would do it. In fact, initially on the crossroad, that's what I recommended, but it is. Soil disturbance becomes an issue. But it does do it efficiently. It's kind of wet in there, but you can get through if you.
Well,
have
the offer stands if it's helpful or desirable.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, so that would be a
but if
question.
people
that would
prefer
be-
it
that-
done manually,
I don't know if that would recommend it, but that's more. If people feel it's, permissible.
That's another decision point.
Yeah, and.
Do
you
we
can
want to
even-
move from minor maintenance to major?
And you can do some of the minor stuff. In
Yeah.
a moderate way, if that makes sense,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, in between, because you don't have to go.
Depends on the operator.
Yeah, if you wanted to go nuts, you dig a trench on one side and a 6-foot trail in the middle.
Yeah.
And you'd probably need to reinforce it with rock or something like line the rock, but that's, you get your road back. But
Can I
I
ask
don't
a
know.
question?
people
Uh-huh.
want-
Could you have always all along done this part on John O'Brien's side?
Yep.
But he doesn't try to do anything out there. I mean, the trees are down here and there and
I think he's cut some.
he's cut
his-
some,
cut some.
I've seen some,
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it cut.
but, well, I would have, if you could do it there, I didn't know, I thought you couldn't do anything on any of it while it was in. in litigation, but,
Oh.
because most of the bad stuff on Orchard was on John's side.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Right,
And
for
they-
all of
they-
it.
The exception of one very large tree.
Yeah, it's just sort of
Well,
one
the
big,
tree,
one big
sorry.
tree, yeah.
There's actually two there now.
I think we were to make a recommendation in general, it's like a lack of maintenance, we've seen over the years, just a lack of maintenance, seeing the trails go downhill.
Progressively.
I think we all agree that there's maintenance needed to maintain a level of trail, right? So,
Yeah, a couple bad floods.
yeah, they're different. So,
So I have a question about the soil disturbance.
Yes.
So if you like essentially ended up with the same, we'll assume you could end up with the same result from either some light machine work
Sure, yeah,
or some intensive handwork.
yeah, right.
Does the fact that it's done with a machine trigger the kind of review or? the potential-
I think it's a square footage threshold. And of like just soil displacement, so I don't think it's machinery.
But it's soil displacement in a stream or.
Yes, and that's where
Water,
it gets
isn't it?
kind of complicated because it's a road bed, but
Yeah.
it has turned into a stream.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does that work? And the lower area, I think, is a little, that's more definitively a wetland, I think, and it maybe depends on what wetland specialist you get. Where it's like, oh, well, there's a wetland plant, it's like, oh, yeah, the water has gathered in the road and is now becoming a stream. Yes, the machine would just displace a lot more. I mean, really, a lot of the displacement is gonna come a lot more from actually digging in the stream itself. Like putting the tread in tends to be not that impactful. Kind of firms up pretty quickly and doesn't cause too much displacement in my opinion. And you're really not talking about 2 feet over. I'd have to look up what the actual trigger is, but it's 2 feet over, 500 feet, so it's like 2,000 square feet. It's not too bad.
I also think that to the extent feathers are gonna get ruffled, they'll get ruffled a lot more with machines than they will.
Yes, exactly. It's just, and it digs up the ground, and really, when you're there, you can do more. So, one scoop of a tractor or an excavator is gonna do, 10 minutes of handwork. So it. More. See what I know Act 250 is that's separate, but there's, I'll look up what the actual thresholds are, but I'm almost positive it's just.
so. All right, we're out of time. So. I'll submit it and then look for an agenda.
Yeah,
So
winter select board meetings
every 2 weeks.
at night.
Yeah, it's at 6, is it? Every other Tuesday at 6.
I think they asked for it at the next meeting, which would be, I think, next
Second and
Tuesday.
fourth Tuesdays.
Yes.
So
Next
it'd be
Tuesday?
That would be next Tuesday, assuming that's what ends up happening.
Well, I'm in Vegas next month. But
Next month or next week?
Next month. So that, but not on Tuesdays.
Is that where all the trail conventions are held?
The Sphere, dead.
What's that?
The
Well-
Sphere, yeah.
Different kind of water
Yeah.
bar.